After defunding the police, San Francisco supervisors are now not wanting to pay a $91 million overtime bill to the police department after they requested more police presence because public safety is such an issue. Yeah, San Francisco. The doom loop spiral continues. Let's get into it. Here we go. San Francisco Police Department says overtime makes up for staffing deficiencies and pays for increased enforcement asked for by city leaders. City leaders are like, what's happening? Don't have enough folks in our downtowns. Can't work out why businesses are leaving. All this crazy stuff that's totally in line with when you defund the police and you let a bunch of Looney Tunes run around your city. This is what you get. San Francisco supervisors laid into the police department Wednesday over a scathing report that found officers sometimes went to work as private security officers on the same days they called in sick to get overtime. My immediate thought was they're scheduled to do security job later in the day and they had to call out sick to go get a kid who was sick from school. Something along those lines. Does that seem reasonable? It does to me too, because this is news for reasonable people, not unreasonable people. San Francisco supervisors, you guys are, for the most part, you deserve everything you get. You deserve everything you get. Let's defund the police. Let's cut, $100-something million from the police department budget and then wonder why everybody quits. And then when they do quit, and the only way that you can have enough police officers to provide an inkling of public safety is to request that they do overtime and then you don't want to pay them. That sounds about right, doesn't it? Yeah, that sounds about right. Their critiques were many, the supervisors. It's rule breaking, a big win for corporations who can afford private security over tax-paying citizens, and it shakes the public's trust. Yeah, I'd like to see the numbers on that. How many cops was it that did it? And you know what? This wouldn't be an issue if you hadn't gone after policing and demonized it and defunded it. This wouldn't be an issue. You wouldn't be requiring police officers to basically make up for lack of public safety with not enough officers on the payroll by requiring them to do overtime. What if no cops did overtime? What if all the cops just did their regular scheduled shifts and then just called it good? No overtime. What do you think would happen? Then we'd have people screaming at the supervisors, what are you guys doing? Right? That's what would happen because your crime would automatically go up because you don't have enough cops roaming around doing their thing, trying to provide that thin blue line, right? Bottom line, police officers need to work for San Franciscans, not for private entities, Supervisor Jackie Fielder said during a budget committee meeting. These people, you get what you deserve. It was an inopportune timing for the San Francisco Police Department. Has there been any good timing for anything to do with policing? No, there really hasn't. It's all been just terrible. You get what you deserve. Not enough cops. That's what you get. At the same meeting, the police and sheriff's department asked for approval of a combined $91 million in overtime spending. Okay, so you've got an issue because budgets in most of these big cities are busted. They are wildly negative. They're trying to work out, how do we make our budget work? And in order to have enough, literally, police officers on their shifts, you got to call people in for overtime. That's how they continuously do it. And you know what? I've read, story after story after story. Police department's really coming together and they're really working some overtime hours. So you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. You can't have, we like to get rid of policing in general because, Black Lives Matter and they support defund the police and we do too because we're virtue signaling Democrats. On top of that, we're liberals that can't really work out how life works. So we do these policies and then wonder, hey, $91 million, what's going on? How are we responsible for $91 million in overtime? Officials also sought the okay for another $1 million for building maintenance. All right, don't really care about that. Even San Francisco Police Department Assistant Chief David 𝗧𝗓 admitted it's a big ask. In his 33 years on the force, 𝗧𝗓 said he had never seen this much overtime being spent. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me because it is not from cops calling out sick to go do their other job. It's not from that. It's you flat don't have enough cops, period. Seattle is down 600, 700, 800 cops. I mean, it's a huge number. It's constantly in the news that, hey, don't have enough police. All right. This is why cops aren't coming out to your burglary call because nobody got raped, murdered, or shot or stabbed. Those are the calls they're going to because that's what they have bandwidth for with the number of officers per shift. They don't have any more. And if you want more, you got to squeeze the other officers who's already worked their shifts to come in on overtime. That's how this game is played. It's not that hard to figure out. The big dollar bill, paired with a scathing review of police policy, drew surprising criticism from Supervisor Matt Dorsey, former San Francisco Police Department spokesperson who's perhaps the police's most staunch defender on the board. I wish we were not in a situation, Dorsey said, where we have to approve this level of overtime. So what do you want to, so you know what? Don't approve the overtime. Don't have any overtime for cops. And then see how that works out. Why don't you do that? I dare you to do that. I dare you to do that. No more overtime, folks. Or limited overtime. Reduce that overtime. And then just see what the numbers look like. See if there's a little spiky spike in crime. I'd hazard a guess as a real estate professional, I would hazard a guess that there would be a correlation. Hey, no more cops out there. I mean, that's what happened during the pandemic, right? I think most people wish you didn't have to pay for all the extra overtime. But what else are you going to do? You can't bring a fireman in to do a cop's job, period. You just can't. You just can't. You can bring a lot of people in to do a social worker's job, though. You can do that. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. But walking around with the gun, maybe having to take somebody out, that's a little different criteria, isn't it, than talking to somebody and seeing how their day is going. Hey, how did that impact you? How are your feelings today? December police audit written by the board's budget legislative analyst found that the department was not tracking overtime and that some officers were calling in sick and then working private security shifts. We already talked about that. During Wednesday's meeting, 𝗧𝗏 cast doubt on some of the report's findings regarding the use of sick time. He said it's possible officers took sick leave on behalf of a family member, like taking a child home from school. I mean, this is just no-brainer stuff, right? Or use their leave to attend a doctor's appointment, but then worked a private security job later that same day. I mean, I've read stories about cops who've made $400,000, $450,000, $467,000, I think, was Seattle. But if you looked at the hours they worked, hard pass. Policing in Seattle? No go for me. No. Oh, those people, no police officers in Seattle. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? Yeah, you think the shootings in South Chicago right now are bad. Sick leave wasn't the only department drawing scrutiny. Supervisor Shimon Walton, whose district includes the Bayview, skewered the department for failing to anticipate how much overtime funding it would need during regular budget proceedings last year. How are they going to know how many cops they've got and how much extra overtime they're going to need? How do you just eyeball that based on last year? I mean, how many cops are going to quit? How many are going to come on board? How do you know exactly, where that magic line is? I don't know. But I certainly don't think a supervisor can second guess that either. The department has not been able to adequately forecast their overtime budget every single year. Maybe it's a pattern. Maybe that's because they can't. How about that? What about that? Oh, no. San Francisco budget season is gearing up. Roughly $820 million budget deficit fueled by downtown's sluggish recovery led Mayor Daniel Lurie to call on all departments to cut 15% from their budgets. This is what's going on across the board in so many big cities. Because you got the whole you got the decline of the downtown real estate market, and all those dollars that feed the budgets aren't there. Yesterday, one of my topics was a building had sold for 90% in 2020. late 2024, I think it was, it sold for 90% less than it was purchased for in 2016. And those kind of drops in value, a 90% drop in value, has created a situation where tons and tons and tons, skyrocketing numbers of commercial property owners in San Francisco are appealing their taxes. That is going on right now because values have dropped so much. And they're looking at their, annual tax statement they just got, and they went, wait a minute, it seems pretty high relative to the comps that are out there. And it is. So that drop in revenue is crushing big cities' departments' budgets. And so you got to take a whack. So Mayor Daniel Lurie, he did the whack. But now the police department's like, hey, yeah, we need $1 million in overtime. So no, not $1 million, 91 million. Is that what it was? Not the magic number? It was $1 million for building maintenance. Yeah, 91 million in overtime pay. The bottom line is, it just doesn't surprise me. The number is what it is. You got a handful of people abusing it. If that can be proven, all right, discipline them, whatever. But, it says some. I mean, what is it, a handful? And again, this would not be an issue. We wouldn't even be talking about this if you had enough cops on the street, if you hired enough cops. But you can't because you demonized policing, you defunded it, and you just made it a career path that nobody really wants to take. So now you're stuck paying overtime, paying that OT, and you don't like it. Tough. This is just how it goes, right? I'd rather not pay that. Well, yep, okay. And what would you like us to do? Would you like public safety to suffer more based on your terrible decision-making? All right, let's see what that looks like. Let's roll the dice and see who gets murdered because you don't want to pay. Yeah, well, I mean, city departments will come before the board's budget committee one by one to justify their proposals for fiscal year 2025-26. I have not seen a budget yet that has really touched police departments, and I've seen many police department budgets go up because they know they need it. Because that whole defund the police thing did not go well. That was a train wreck. That was an ideological train wreck, and everybody knows it. You bring that up now, and people's faces just go blank. They're like, yeah. And I know damn well people had like defund the police in their Facebook, their picture for their profile, defund the police, like every little thing that comes along, defund it just Black Lives Matter. And you're like, a few years later, well, how'd that work out? Like most Democrat policy, how did that work out? Not all that well. Though the sheriff's department, which claimed its overtime costs swelled due to a growing jail population, was part of the budget item, it was San Francisco Police Department that drew the most heat. Lasar pointed to two drivers of the growing overtime. All right, here we go. Here's reality, San Francisco. This is reality. A staffing shortage of roughly 525 officers. All right, add a couple hundred to that because you need bonus guys in there and gals in there, right? Yeah, you're 700 shy. You're 700 shy. That's not that far off of what Seattle is, I don't think. And community policing called for by politicians. Staffing shortage, community policing called for by politicians. It's insane. You guys are insane. Oh, yeah, we need more cops in here. Oh, we don't want to pay them. So do you want them or not? Got to take your pick because you can't have both. You can't have them on the street and you can't not pay them. And the only way to have them on the street is overtime. Roughly $30 million of San Francisco Police Department's overtime budget went to beefing up police presence in the Tenderloin, Union Square, and tourist areas. Those are the areas that we cover the most. And the building that was that dropped 90% in value. Man, it went from 90-something million down to 6 million. So, it was just an incredible drop. You're like, whoa. And you could watch my podcast on that. Maybe you already have. They were literally making comparisons of what else you can get for $6 million in San Francisco. And you get a nice penthouse here with some views. It's wild, right? And commercial is down so much. But this is something that I've been talking about a lot. At the dollar amounts that the commercial buildings are being picked up for, businesses can buy those buildings, rent out a bunch to other companies, and they've got their rent paid for. And that is literally happening because values have dropped so far. But the Tenderloin, the property I talked about, 90% drop, it was on the fringe of the Tenderloin. It was on 6th Street. And 6th Street to 16th Street has had a major police emphasis because it's overrun by whacked out people on drugs who are just running around, doing shenanigans. And public safety isn't high on their list of priorities because they're literally mad on drugs and running around. And I read the stories. I cover the stories here. It's like in LA, the guy was running around on an electric chainsaw, chopping down trees. And he did that for about a week. And then he stopped and got arrested on Earth Day. I mean, you can't make it up. So the Tenderloin, Union Square, and tourist areas, they beef up the police presence because in order to get people back into these buildings, in order to have employers comfortable putting what's going to be tenants, which are their employees, into these buildings, you can't have people getting whacked on the street. You can't have vacant storefronts everywhere. You got to have more people in the downtown core area. And this is literally what the supervisors knew and wanted and now don't want to pay for it. Yeah. Can't do it. Can't do it that way. So you're going to have to pony up. You're going to have to just take it. You're going to have to say, all right, we'll pay. Because what else are you going to do? You do not have any options. Send the social worker out there. Good luck with that. All right. I'll podcast that one all day long, right? Which drew resources from district stations when they beefed up the presence in the Tenderloin, Union Square, and tourist areas. They drew resources from district stations. Make this make sense. You know what I mean? This is just so standard. It's so typical. Well, we'd like some more public safety. I'd like you to address the guy out there with the sword. There's no police officers around to take care of that. Let's get some more on OT. All right. We're pretty excited to ramp up staffing, 𝗧𝗏 said. The future is bright. They've got to pitch it that way because the opposite, which is what they're dealing with, is our streets aren't safe. You shouldn't rent any commercial space here. Businesses don't come here. Street level retail don't come here. Saks Fifth Avenue just left, right? I mean, they said they went to an appointment only policy in Union Square. And then they're like, we gotta go. We don't need this space anymore. We got to go. And that's after Nordstrom left, Bloomingdale's left. I mean, everybody's left this area, specifically Tenderloin, Union Square, and the tourist areas. I was watching a metal Leo of the waterfront area. I did not know the waterfront area in San Francisco had been hollowed out as badly as it had. I mean, the whole area is impacted. Downtown San Fran in general, not just Skid Row. I mean, not just Skid Row, Tenderloin, sorry. Another California nut job area. We're pretty excited to ramp up staffing. Future is bright. Okay, they got to throw that out there because literally the alternative is they can't throw that alternative out there because it's self-defeating. You got to pitch forward. You got to pitch forward with positivity. And the best thing you can have in San Francisco, hey, the future's bright. Property values are cheap. Hey, why don't you come here and buy one and just see what it looks like? Just maybe, don't run around the exterior of the building after dark. Not good. But Supervisor Connie Chan threw cold water on that hope. City leaders need to acknowledge the budget crisis, Chan said. I want to be really honest. Don't you love it when people say, not going to lie, or I've got to be really honest with you, as opposed to all the other times where you lied? Is that what we're talking about? So you're lying the rest of the time, but this time now you want to come through with just a streak of honesty. All right, okay. What do you got to tell me? I want to be really honest, she told 𝗧𝗏, noting that the city may not be able to afford to hire enough police to grow the force. There you go. There you go. And in all the numbers with the Seattle Police Department, that's the deal, is that you don't have the ability to force people into a police position when there's not enough people applying. We don't have money. We're in a budget deficit, Chan said. How can the police department at this moment? I'm asking every department, how do we do more with less? One word relative to policing. Overtime. Got to pay to play. 91 million? All right. Is what it is. That's the way I see it. Pretty basic stuff. But you would think in San Francisco that reality is just upside down. You're literally living in the upside down. Yeah, you got reality here, and then actual reality is somewhere out there, right? That's what we try and reel in here on News for Reasonable People. Just read normal stories. This is how it goes. All right, that's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.